discussion that we have here in the Gemara is, can can a Chazan recite the Amidah, the Chazara, and can that cover someone who didn't daven belachash? A person did not daven by himself. Let's say you walk into synagogue and they're about to do the Chazara. Could the Chazan cover you? Even now, if you're a person who does not know how to pray, so that's the purpose of the Chazan. The purpose of the Chazan, of the Chazara, is to cover the people who don't know how to pray. But if you have somebody who knows how to pray, so that's the question in the Gemara. If somebody knows how to pray, can the Chazan cover the person who knows how to pray? Or he only can cover the person who does not know how to pray. But the person who knows how to pray, he cannot cover, right? So that was, the person has to pray himself. Right? That was a discussion morning, Nathan. So that was a discussion of the argument between Rabbi Gamliel and the Chachamim. Rabbi Gamliel said he held that really the Chazan could cover even the person who's learned, and the only reason why everybody says the Amidah privately, belachash, is to give the Chazan time to prepare his Chazara, to help the people who don't know. But really, they could really fulfill their obligation by just listening to the Chazan. But they instituted that you should really say by yourself, privately, just to give the Chazan time. But besides the fact that you want to give the Chazan time, so like I wanted to say, in a case where you walk in late, and the Chazan, and everybody already did the Lachash, the Chazan already got his time, so you should just go ahead, you could just listen to the Chazan, according to Rabbi Gamliel. Then the Gemara had a discussion whether the Chachamim changed their mind. Did the Chachamim concede and change their mind to agree to Rabbi Gamliel that to allow the Chazan to cover even the person who's learned, who knows how to pray himself? So we had Rabbi Yochanan, we had an argument in that itself. We had an argument among later rabbis, Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish, some of the rabbis. Rabbi Yochanan says Rabbi Gamliel the rabbis conceded to Rabbi Gamliel and would allow technically the Chazan to cover the learned person. And Rabbi Lakish says no, the rabbis did not concede. Okay. But the Gemara here on Lamed Daled Amud Bet B3, 34b3 is going to discuss whether the opinion of Rabbi Yochanan. We said that Rabbi Yochanan went on record to say, Rabbi Bachana quoted Rabbi Yochanan to say that the rabbis conceded to Rabbi Gamliel. And that is what the Gemara is going to challenge right now. That statement. Okay, we're focusing in on the statement. Now we're on Mi Amar Rabbi Yochanan Hachi. Did Rabbi Yochanan actually say that the rabbis conceded to the opinion of Rabbi Gamliel that the Chazan could technically cover the Chazan could cover even the learned person? V'ha'amar Rabbi Bachana Sipora. Rabbi Bachana of Sipora, said in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, he said in the name of Rabbi Yochanan the following: Hilchata ki Rabbi Gamliel. That Rabbi Yochanan went on record and he said, I want to tell you, the law follows Rabbi Gamliel's opinion that the Chazan could cover even the learned person. So now, if you tell me the law follows Rabbi Gamliel, implies Hilchata michlal de pligi. It implies that there is an argument. If you say it follows this opinion, that means there's this opinion and there's that opinion. But if it's, if everybody admits, if the rabbis conceded and agreed at the end, means there's no argument. There's no argument. So how could you say the law follows Rabbi Gamliel? The law, it's a universal law. It's according to Rabbi Gamliel and everybody, the rabbis. The fact that you say the law follows Rabbi Gamliel seems to indicate, Yehuda, that that's only Rabbi Gamliel that holds that way, but the rabbis still contend otherwise. That is the Gemara's question on the statement that says that Rabbi Yochanan stated that the rabbis conceded. It seems that Rabbi Yochanan did not say the rabbis conceded. That is the question. We're on Lamed Hey Amin Aleph. We are on 35a. So the Gemara says, to Salik Rav Abba, I make the joke from Miami. It says it's Miami, not Miami. It's not Miami, Florida. See David on the top of the page at 35A1. You see the top line, the fifth word. It looks like Miami. It's not Miami. It's from Miami, from the oceans. He went over the Mediterranean, right? He came from Eretz Yisrael. He came back from, like Yehuda, he came back from overseas. He had traveled overseas. Good morning, Ralph.
Morning, Rabbi.
He traveled overseas. Persha, he explained the contradiction the following. He said like this. Modim l'chachamim, he explained that there's no contradiction. When did Rabbi Yochanan say that the Ralph, we are on 35a, top of the page, 35a1. When did the rabbis admit to Rabbi Gamliel? By a specific case. B'brachot shel Rosh Hashana v'shel Yom Kippurim. By the Amidah, the Shemona Esrei of Rosh Hashanah. The Shemona Esrei of Yom Kippur of Yovel. That's how some learn. Some say it's every Yom Kippur. That Shemona Esrei is very long. It's a very long Shemona Esrei. We know Rosh Hashanah has 9 brachot. It's the only Musaf that has 9 brachot. The general Musaf has 7 brachot. This has 9. We have Shofrot and Malchiot, Zechronot, and of course we have Kedushat Hayom together with Malchiot. So we have a lot of extra stuff, a lot of extra things we say in the Amidah. And the same Amidah that we have on Rosh Hashanah is in the Yovel year, the 50th year, after 7 Shmitos, after 49 years, the 50th year is Yovel. They blow the shofar. And also on Yovel, when they blow the shofar on Yovel, you also, of Yom Kippur of Yovel, is also the same 9 blessings Shemon Esrei of Shofrot, Zechronot, and Malchiot. So, which is very lengthy. So in those cases, therefore they concede and say, you know what? It's difficult for the average person, even the person who knows how to pray, even a person knows how to pray, who's educated in prayer, it's hard, it's long. So, right. So there's definitely the kiyot are definitely going to be part of the chazara when the chazan says the midah. Let's say according to the Sephardi custom, let's say everybody when the chazan does the chazara, we blow the tekiyah. So there's no question that you can fulfill your obligation of the tekiyah by listening to the blowing of the shofar. But the question is prayer, which is a much more personal thing where you ask for mercy. So that's the question, whether you have to pray yourself or could you fulfill your obligation by listening to someone else. Even when you're capable of praying, when you're not capable of praying yourself, yes, the chazan covers you. When you're capable of praying yourself, everyone, even the people that know that not. So you're suggesting the same way that the kiyot is for everybody. So therefore, the rest of the prayer could also work for money for everybody. Okay, it's interesting. It seems that the Gemara makes a distinction between the prayer and the kiyot, and more the reason is once the prayer is covering the unlearned, once the prayer is covering somebody, so it should be also so that comes from the aspect the prayer works for the non-educated. So that same prayer, I mean, if the prayer could cover the uneducated, so then the prayer should be able to cover the educated too. That seems to be more the thrust of that. So the Gemara says there is where the rabbis conceded, but halacha by Yom Kippur of Yovel and Rosh Hashanah. But the statement that says that they're still arguing, halacha mechlal de pligi, where is the case where they're arguing? The brachot the kol hashana, the brachot of the whole year long. Brachot of the whole year long, meaning the regular Amidah, the regular Shemona Esrei is not so long. And therefore, and also you're more fluent with it, right? That's different. And therefore, the whole year round, therefore the rabbis hold you gotta have to pray. If you know how to pray, you gotta pray. You have to have your own personal expression of the same way you gotta put on your own tefillin. You can't put on tefillin for me. So here we're saying this. By the way, there's also an interesting question by Sfira to Omer, by counting Sfira. You know, the 49 days that we count Sfira. So there's a question: can you count Sfira and have me in mind? Meaning the bracha on the Sfira, right? Before you count Sfira to Omer, you say Baruch Atah Hashem, you know, Al Sfira to Omer, right? Whatever the bracha is, that bracha, somebody could cover me. That's a bracha on the mitzvah. But there is a question in halacha, the actual counting. Let's say the first night that we start counting, and so on subsequently. Hayom yom echad la'omer, whatever, right? Do I have to say that counting myself? Or if Nathan goes there and says, Rabbi, I'm going to have you in mind. Just listen to my counting, and you'll be covered. Like the same way, if Nathan reads a Megillah, I listen to Nathan's reading, I get credit. Nathan says Kiddush, I listen to his Kiddush, I get credit.
One is to hear the shofar, one is to hear the Megillah, the other one is to count. And count sounds like it has to be active according to you.
Okay, very good.
You can't have someone else. Someone else can't fetch for you.
Okay, very good. So Nathan is making a case for those opinions that say Nathan can't count for me. It's much more personal. I have to count myself. So, but others disagree. You know, it's an argument whether someone can count for me or not. But we see the concept that here is a mitzvah that's dependent on words. It's a word mitzvah. Counting is a word mitzvah. It's saying something, but there is a question whether I could fulfill my sayings, even saying something, by listening to someone else. So here's a similar. I want to connect the dots. Similar to prayer, you can make the case to say that prayer is more than just listening to someone else and covering you. It's a prayer. Maybe prayer is something that has to come more from the depths of your own personal heart. That would be a little bit what perhaps why the rabbis say you can't just. We're not going to let you just listen. You should be more expressing your person. You expressing yourself. So now, so that's what the Gemara wants to make a distinction between the all year round and Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. Now, by the way, in practice, nobody, even though according to this point of the Gemara, you could technically come into Shul on Rosh Hashanah, and at the Musaf, which is long, you should be able to go ahead and listen to the Chazan and not say anything, even if you'll learn it. But we don't rely, number one, that you should be able to focus well from the beginning to the end, and we would not tell you that you should go ahead and we would not say you should listen to the Chazan and fulfill your obligation. Now, so the Gemara says, Eini, is this so? Is this the way to answer the apparent contradiction? We have Rav Chana from Sipura. So he's the second, it's the same Rav Chana Sipura that we had before. What did he say? He said the following. He said, Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan says, Halacha k'Rabbi Gamliel bebrachot. The law follows Rabbi Gamliel bebrachot shel Rosh Hashanah v'shel Yom Kippurim. He says that the law follows Rabbi Gamliel by Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur of Yovel, which means to say that even over there's an argument. He said that by Rosh Hashanah there is an argument, even though we just made a whole case that Rosh Hashanah is long brachot, and therefore maybe that's why they would what? And now we see no, that even Rosh Hashanah, the Chazan can't, the rabbis did not concede to Rabbi Gamliel. So how do you explain? Well, you just told me before, you quoted a statement before that the halacha that you told me that the rabbis admit to Rabbi Gamliel. So now we have a you said he admits Rabbi Gamliel by the brachot of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, and here we see that they're arguing. So the Gemara says, "Ela Amar Rav Nachman Yitzchak." Rav Nachman Yitzchak is going to explain the apparent contradiction of Rabbi Yochanan the following way. Man modim, we have a report. The report says that the rabbis conceded to Rabbi Gamliel. So, and where did he concede? By the brachot of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippurim. Who are those rabbis? That was Rabbi Meir. The one who admitted was Rabbi Meir, not the general rabbis. Meaning to say the following. The general rabbi, we have three opinions here. The general rabbis hold the Chazan cannot cover the learned person, doesn't make a difference all year round, doesn't make a difference. Even Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur of Yovel, the Chazan cannot cover the learned person. But we have a middleman, so to speak, Rabbi Meir, who makes a compromise. He changed his opinion, it depends. He says it's not across the board the Chazan cannot cover. It depends if it's Rosh Hashanah or Yom Kippur of Yovel compared to the rest of the year. Rosh Hashanah, Yovel compared to the rest of the year. That's where the Chazan could cover, but the rest of the year he can. And comes the Rabbi Gamliel and says even the rest of the year he could cover.
What is the difference between the Yovel year for Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur and the non-Yovel year for Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur?
Right. So non-Yovel year of right 49 and 50 years. So many will say the following. Rosh Hashanah, let's talk about Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah, what we're talking about is the Musaf of Rosh Hashanah, but that has 9 brachot. The Musaf of Yovel of Yom Kippur of Yovel is the same Shmona Esrei as the Rosh Hashanah that we do every year. The Musaf, our Musaf of Rosh Hashanah, this past year. And when Yovel comes back, we will have Yovel. And since we're going to be blowing the shofar on Yovel, and in the Musaf of Yovel will be the same Musaf that we daven with shofar, sechronot, machiot, and
why did they make not Musaf and the shofar are identical?
So what does it make a distinction between the Yovel year, non-Yovel year? Right, no, right, you're right. Rosh Hashanah of all 50 years is the same. The only difference is because no, it's not the Rosh. It's Rosh Hashanah and the Yom Kippur. It's Rosh Hashanah of every year and the Yom Kippur of Yovel. Those are the only two. We're not dealing with the Rosh Hashanah of Yovel.
Yovel is different than the other 49 Yom Kippurs?
Yes.
And the Yovel of Yom Kippur is different than the Rosh Hashanah of the Yovel Rosh Hashanah.
Yovel Rosh Hashanah. There's no difference. You're right. Yovel Rosh Hashanah. See, in Yovel, the Jubilee year, the only thing that's changed is the difference in regular year is because the Musaf of Yom Kippur. The 50th year Yovel Rosh Hashanah is the same exact thing, and the only thing that changes is the Musaf of the Jubilee year of Yovel. There we have a special of Yom Kippur of Yovel. Correct. What? We keep track, but I'm not sure if we know which Yovel, but it doesn't apply nowadays. But the laws of Yovel don't apply today. We don't have the could be because we don't have the maybe we don't have the Mikdash, maybe we don't have maybe we don't have all the tribes in Israel. There are certain laws in order for Yovel to take effect. We don't have Yovel. We don't do anything to Yovel. Maybe the closest thing that we do to remember to remember Yovel is that on Yom Kippur every year we blow the shofar at the conclusion of Yom Kippur. Right? That's what we do in Ashkenaz shuls. You do that in the Sephardi shuls? Yeah. They blow shofar. Why are you blowing the shofar? Every Shabbat you don't blow the shofar at the conclusion of Shabbat. Why is it on Yom Kippur specifically? You blow the shofar at the end of Yom Kippur to tell everybody it's over. Tell me when Shabbat is over. So one reason is given is to remind it's zecher, remembrance of the shofar that will be blown on Yom Kippur itself, not after Yom Kippur, on Yom Kippur itself of the Jubilee year of the Yovel. So that's one of the main reasons I given why we blow the shofar after Yom Kippur. We don't blow it on Yom Kippur because remember, Yom Kippur is a holiday. Right, exactly. It's like just like it's a musical instrument that you don't only on Rosh Hashana you have a right. It's the Torah tells you to blow the shofar. The rabbis did not place their rabbinic prohibition of blowing a shofar, but in general, on Shabbat and Yom Tov you can't blow a shofar. Yes. Second day of Yom of right. But I meant what's it? Depends what Yom Tov. Meaning, I meant to say when I say Yom Tov, I meant to say Sukkot. That's what I meant to say. And a regular Yom Tov, like Sukkot, yes.
Is there a significance to the blowing of the shofar in the Jubilee, Yom Kippur, anything to do with slaves or land or anything that is changed?
Yes, right. That is. I mean, the point of the blowing seems to is an indication about the fact that this year is different. That now it's a sign of freedom for the slaves and the land goes back. Exactly. That's happening. If you look at the pasuk, it says like this: the Pashas Bahar. You count. The Torah says you count 7 shmitos every 7 years for 49 years. Then in the 50th year, it says like "V'havarda shofar trua." You blow the shofar trua on Yom Kippur of Yovel, which is tkiya, as we explained. That blowing is like the same blowing we do on Rosh Hashanah, right? Tkiya, trua, tkiya, 3 times, 3 sets, 9 sounds on it, right? And then it says, after you do that, it says Vikidashtem, you sanctify the 50th year, and you call it a year of dror, a year of freedom for everybody. Everybody goes back to their, like the slaves go back home, and then it continues, and then it talks about the fact you can't plant in the 50th year. It's like a Shemitah year. It's like right, you can't harvest. Because it's Yovel, it's holy. The land goes back also, yes. And exactly. That's what the pasuk says. Let's see if here.
You can't inherit land because that threshold.
When you have it, you only can sell it for. You only have a right to sell your land that you inherited from your ancestor, whatever that. You only get up to Yovel. It's limited. Morning, Asaf.
Until the Yovel year, you're selling it for 549 of its value.
Oh, the value is
because it's 5 crops.
Just the value.
It's 5 crops.
You only can sell it for 5 years. You can't sell for more. It goes back.
Doesn't supersede the Yovel.
No, you're right. The Yovel limits you to selling your land of inheritance, your tribe, David's tribe, whatever your tribe is. I know, right, exactly. Yeah, right. Right. Kohanim and Levim. Okay, but you were supported by the community, both of you.
He was supported bigger.
Bigger, yes, exactly.
It's a bigger bet.
Yes. Okay.
More kavod.
Okay. So that's with the Yovel. We're looking forward to having. We're looking forward to having the Yovel. You're also Kohen, right? It's like Kohen Levi place. Okay, so that's what the Gemara wants to say. So the Gemara says, Ela Amar Rav Nachman Yitzchak. And Nachman Yitzchak says the following. We are on the first column. Ela Rav Nachman Yitzchak, 35A1. 35A1, good morning, Yehuda, on the first column. Man Modim Rameya. So he says, who is the one that's Modim? Is Rameya. Rameya concedes, to say just bring Yehuda up to date, Rameya says that the Chazan could cover the community, even the people who are knowledgeable, who are capable of praying. He could cover them specifically on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur of Yovel, since it's long brachot, the Chazan could cover them. Now, and when we said halacha, but then we said the law follows Rabbi Gamliel, which imply on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur of Yovel, which implies that there is an argument on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur of Yovel. Not everyone agrees that the Chazan could cover. That's the Rabbanan. That's the rabbi. The rabbis say there's no difference in Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur of Yovel. The rest of the year, if you know how to pray, you got to pray yourself. You can't just rely on the Chazan. Right. They are opposed. They remain not with Rabbi Gamliel. Exactly. They are opposed to Rabbi Gamliel. The Tanya, we learned in a Braita. Brachot shel Rosh Hashanah v'shel Yom Kippurim. We welcome Mark. Mark is on the screen. We welcome Mark. We got a zimun on the screen. The Tanya, we learned in the Braita. Brachot, Mark, you just made the zimun on the screen, Mark. It's a new line. It's a good line, right?
Oh, that's a great amount.
Yeah.
You got three on the screen?
Yeah. You see, you got Ralph, and you had someone else before. Or maybe that's
you.
Okay.
You're the third.
No, but Nathan was on the screen before also. Now Nathan is live. The Tanya, we learned it right there. Brachot shel Rosh Hashanah v'shel Yom Kippurim. The Chazara, the Amidah, the Shemona Esrei of Musaf of Rosh Hashanah, which is very long, and the Musaf of Yom Kippur of Yovel. Shliach Tzibur Motzi et Rabim Idei Chavoto. Divi Rav Meir. Rav Meir says the Chazan could technically cover, people could walk into shul. Technically, they should be allowed to walk into shul, just listen to the Chazan, because it's easy for the people, because it's very hard. It's long brachot, but we tell them to pray alone just to give the Chazan time to prepare himself. Now, the Chacham say no. Kishem sheshliach tzibur chayav, just like the Chazan has to repeat them, he has to say the Amidah out loud, and he has to pray. Excuse me, every individual has to pray on Rosh Hashanah, Musaf. If you know how to pray, you can't just get off by just sitting back and listening to the Chazan. If you know how to pray, that's the issue, Mark, just to bring Mark up to date. A person who knows how to pray, does he have to pray, or could he listen to the Chazan? So that's the issue that we're discussing.
Isn't the Hazara exactly for, like, if someone misses words or doesn't say correctly? Like, what is the real reason for the Hazara? We have Kohanim, but we also have the idea. I understand it is if I read a word over, I didn't say it right or whatever, the Hazara covers us.
The Chazara is more instituted for the uneducated Jew who doesn't know the prayer. He doesn't know how to pray. He could be an Israeli who knows Hebrew, understands Hebrew, and some say, you need to understand what the Chazan said in order to fill your obligation. But you have to, but he doesn't know how to pray. He never prayed a day in his life. He didn't go to yeshiva. You could be living in Israel. You're a farmer. You talk Hebrew. You might understand the language, but you don't know how to pray.
Right.
You might be Tel Aviv, Nathan. So it's really.
So how about the guy that knows how to pray, seemingly, and like I said, missed the word.
Right. So usually that's not. The rabbis did not institute it for that guy who knows how to pray and might have missed a word. Because usually, when you miss a word, especially if it's a word in middle of a blessing, a word will not knock off the whole blessing. Maybe if you miss a word in the conclusion of a blessing, like Baruch Atah Hashem, if you don't mention Hashem's name, or you don't mention Melech sometimes, but generally most person misses a word in a word here or there in the Amidah, generally will not knock out the fulfilling of the obligation. Not that people shouldn't be careful, because the rabbi just said that, but no, meaning you have to be careful every word. Yeah, but technically, usually you didn't say this word, you say kichatano, and you didn't say the word chatano, you say pashanu, whatever, you missed the word chatano, but there's other words in there that the blessing is really covered, so technically, that's not really the reason why they made the Chazara. The Chazara was mainly for the uneducated Jew, that he should be part of the community, he should be part of the prayer service, and he should come to synagogue, and we're saying it for that uneducated Jew. Now the question is, if you're educated, if you're capable of praying, but it'll be much easier for you just to sit back instead of putting your focus and you saying the prayer, just listening to the Chazan. Could you technically fulfill your obligation by just listening to the Chazan? That is the discussion here in the Gemara. So what we're saying here is Reb Meir says that we're going to make an allowance for the educated Jew, like Mark Ajmi, to go ahead and on Rosh Hashanah to sit back and listen to the Musaf of the Chazan and not say any. Technically, you could say, if you come into synagogue, everyone did the Lachash, and then you walk in, and the Chazan is about to start. According to Reb Meir, you could just sit back and listen to the Chazan from the beginning to the end. Now, we don't have such patience today, but we could say that people are focusing it's a hard thing to do so today. Attention span is a little difficult, but you're listening to every word, and it's as if you said every word. Reb Meir says you're good, you're covered. But however, the Chachamim disagree, and that's what we're up to now. The Chachamim omrim that the same way the Chazan has to say his Amidah, every person, if you're capable of praying, you got to pray yourself. You can't just sit back and listen to the Chazan, even when it's a more difficult prayer, like the 9 prayer blessing, a long blessing of Rosh Hashanah, you still have to say it yourself. Now, the Gemara now wants to understand Reb Meir. What's the distinction between Rosh Hashanah and every year, every week, every Shabbat, every day that he requires the rest of the year? You have to do it yourself. But he's going to be more lenient than we spoke about the fact because it's longer. We'll see. We spoke that out, but let's see how the Gemara says it. The Gemara says, "Ma'ishnahani." What is the difference between the Musaf of Rosh Hashanah and the Musaf of Yom Kippur of Yovel than all other prayers of the year? If we're going to say because there are more psukim. Let's say the Musaf of Rosh Hashanah has many more psukim than the regular weekday prayer. And others also read the Gemara by the fact that all these psukim of Malchiot, Shofrot, Zechronot, right? We have 30 psukim, minimum of 30 psukim that you have to say on Rosh Hashanah in the Amidah. You have to say 10 psukim. We learned about that, right? 10 psukim that talk about God's kingship. 10 psukim that talk about remembrances of God, good things to remember, the positive things that will be a merit to the Jewish people. And 10 verses that talk about shofar. We have 30 verses, and we have plus the other verses of the holiday offerings, right? Those verses are not specific to talking about the holidays offerings, but then we have the verses that deal with the holidays offerings, the different offerings that we bring on Rosh Hashanah. So if it's because of the so many psukim or so many, it's because of that. Rav Chananel says in the name of Rav, if you go ahead and you just say, it says in the, let's say like the way Rashi says, you say naseh v'nakriv v'necha in the musaf. You say we want to bring in front of you kimisat ritzonecha. We want to, according to the way you God want us to perform the offerings, the korbanot, kemo shekasafta aleinu b'toratecha. The way you wrote it. Now, what do we say? We say we should merit to bring the offerings the way you wrote in the Torah, how we're supposed to bring the offerings, and then we say the offerings, right? Then we enumerate and we talk, and it says in the 7th month, the first day, you bring these offerings, these animals. But if you didn't follow up to be specific and mention what are the animals of the day, you just said, God, we should merit and we should be able to bring the musafim, the extra offerings that are stated at the way it's written in your Torah, but we don't say exactly what was written in the Torah, what we should bring. We just say the way it was written in the Torah. Is that clear? It's like I said, we should, right, David? Even if you didn't say the verse, is it because I gotta say those verses? But Hashana says if you just say that we should merit to bring the extra offerings the way it's written in the Torah, that's enough. You don't have to, technically, you do not have to enumerate and specify clearly what are the offerings. We do, in practice, we do specify in the Amidah exactly what the offerings are, but technically you don't have to be specific and say what those offerings are. So you can't tell me it's because of these extra verses that are stated in the Rosh Hashanah Musaf, and that's what's causing you to go ahead and we're going to be lenient. Reb Meir is going to be lenient just to listen to the Chazan, but technically you don't need to say those verses. It's not something you must do. If it's not something you must do, then that should not be a reason why he should allow you to listen to the Chazan for something that's not necessarily you have to do. So why should he concede? Why should he admit on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur of Yovel that you can listen to Chazan? Why? Because of these verses. But you don't need to do these verses. So you can't say it's because of the verses when these are not vitally necessary to say. The only thing is, the issue here on this Gemara, the question you can ask on the Gemara, we said there are 30 verses that are, good morning, Mark, there are 30 verses of between the Malchiot, the kingship verses, the Shofrot verses, the Zechrona verses, there are 30 verses. So when Hananiel says that if you said Kemosha, if you said B'Toratcha Katuv Leimar, if you said as long as you said I want to say it the way it's written in the Torah, would that cover those 30 verses? Meaning, can I get away with just saying, the way it's written in the Torah, and I don't mention, let's say I would say in the brach of Malchiot, I'll talk about, when I mention Malchiot, I'll say, and it should be the kingship of Hashem, the way the kingship is mentioned in the Torah, throughout the Torah. Or when I talk about Zechronot, and in the brach of Zechronot, I would say, Hashem, I want you to remember us for good. Kamo, like it's written in the Torah about Zechron, Kamosha Nema Zechronot b'Torah, without mentioning those verses. Similarly, can I talk about Shofar? That brach of Shofar, can I do without mentioning the verses of Shofar? So what is the Gemara saying? That, Reb Hananel says, if you say Kamosha Kasavta b'Toratecha, you're good, you're covered. We have a Mishnah earlier. There's a machloket in the Mishnah. One says you have to have a minimum of 10 verses. And one says you have to have a minimum of at least 3 verses. But you have at least a minimum of 3 or 10. So how could the Gemara say it's because you don't need to, you could just say Kamosha Katab Toratecha. Just if you just say the words the way it's written in the Torah, the way kingship is written in the Torah. But I thought you have to say a minimum of verses. Yes.
With the counter example in the Torah, when the 12 Nasiim came to bring their gifts, each individual gift, even though they were identical for all,
was enumerated and specified.
Or time says, because each one, while he was bringing the same gift, had a different kavanah emphasized. So that would argue against what's being said here.
Right. I mean, you need to say it. That's what you're saying? Yeah. Right. So Tosfos says a very interesting thing. So to a Tosfos, Rabbeinu Tam says the following. When you begin, if you start sometimes you could ruin something when you start something and you don't finish it, or sometimes it's better not to start. Meaning it's like this. If you're saying verses, then you have to do a certain amount. It's like there's a minimum. When you say it, there's a minimum purchase. There's a minimum price. There's a minimum amount of verses, either 3 or 10. But if you're not saying, but technically you have the ability, but if you also don't have to say it at all. You could just say there's 3 options. Either say 3 or 2 opinion of 10. But you also could just say a general broad thing. You could just say.
That's the point of all your You do the same thing.
Oh, so all year round, you don't have, you're right. Technically, you should be able to do it all year round. Right. And technically, but David, for us, it means Rosh Hashanah, you technically don't need to have to say all those verses. And therefore, why should you be able to listen to the Chazan on Rosh Hashanah more than the rest of the year if those verses, you could get away without saying them? You could get around without saying those 30 verses, just saying the way kingship is mentioned throughout the Torah. Yeah, that's what, according to Tosfot, that's Tosfot's opinion. Rashi disagrees. Rashi, right? We don't. Rashi says you must enumerate. Right, we also for us, we have to say it, and Rashi says the Gemara. No, phone in. No, we say it in practice. We say you have to say it. We don't rely on the Chazan. We'll see more tomorrow. Everyone remember the date. We're getting closer. A week from tomorrow. Now, what's the tomorrow's class? What time?
Before the 8:30 minutes?
Whatever the consensus is. Whatever people you want 7:45? 7:45? Tomorrow is good. Okay, we're on 7:45. And Friday, it's 7:45 good for everybody Friday?
45, then,
But the question is if people want 6:45 on Friday, that's the question.
No, oh, right, we don't do that, yeah. We can, but I won't be there. I'm not being.
Okay.
7:45.
Sitting, what's the answer?
7:45 Friday.
So meanwhile, we're 7:45 tomorrow, and then we'll decide tomorrow about Friday. We'll take one day at a time. Okay. Now I got a good smile from Ralph on that.
I don't know when the minyan starts over here. It could be 9 o'clock, so
Okay.
I'm good.
So Ralph, yeah, very good. That's very good. That's great. Ralph, just remember, if it's the 9 o'clock minyan, you might want to say the Shema beforehand. The Kriya Shema beforehand. Okay, have a great day. Ralph, we still want you to see if you can work your schedule for Thursday, next Thursday night.
The 5th, right?
5th, yeah.
5th. It's 6:30.
The 5th is a Thursday night. I think David.
No. What time?
I'm not coming.
6:30 Thursday
and
night.
it's in Safra.
Safra, yes.
Okay.
You
I think I can make it.
Yes.
Yeah. I think I can make it.
You could make it, hopefully.
Yeah, I can make it. Yeah.
Okay, great.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Be good.
Bye-bye. Take care, Ralph. Ralph, have a great day. I want you to take this. That's right. That's what you do.
Thank you. You can zoom in, honey.
Oh, that'll be great. Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Or next week, yes, 100%. Was you ready? You tell them about it?
Yeah. That's all.
Let me just close this off.
Where is it? Is it LA?